So agent mode is out there, but you don't actually make spreadsheets like all that often, or slide decks, or just generic research topics. So you're thinking, what do I actually do with this? I asked myself the same thing, and I tried to build an actual workflow, an evergreen workflow that I could profit from every week. So I have an outline here for that workflow, and I have a second workflow that just goes with GPT and Codex, and I set a timer for 48 minutes. I'm going to try to get as far as I can with them and bring you along for the ride. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So let's do it. Okay, let's start with the one on the right, the agent mode one. So the use case is I make reaction videos on YouTube sometimes, and I want to make sure the content I'm reacting to is topical. So I want a weekly trending report sent to me so that on Saturdays I just open it up and click go. I don't have to do the research myself. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT and say, hey, help me brainstorm a spec that'll outline what I need, and then it'll generate that spec, and then I'll have a good spec. Then I'll go to agent mode and I'll test this out. So I'll prompt it using the spec and let it do its thing. It'll find the trending content, and then it'll generate a report for me, and then I'll open the report and see if it looks good. And then from there, I will try to automate this process to happen every 7 days by writing a script to run the prompt and then to send it somewhere to me. I originally wanted email, but then I decided, let me just try Discord via a webhook. That seemed easier. And I get into how to figure out where to host it and execute this as we go. And then the second one is simpler. It's just when I have PRs that go into my repo for my open source calendar app, I just want to get a notification about it just because it's fun, and I want to make the Discord a more dynamic, like high signal place, and knowing when code is merged is actually very helpful. So it's going to do the same thing. We're going to generate a spec. Then I'm going to write a Discord bot, which just has it hooked up to a webhook, which will include the info about the PR and the author, and then I'll send it to a specific Discord channel called PRs, and then this will happen every time the PR is merged to main on GitHub. So honestly, I had this in my head when I started, and then I made it after the fact. I wish I would have mapped it out a little better myself, but I just had so much time, so this is the best I could do. We're going to start with way over here on the spec part, generating the spec for the research, the trending topic research. Let's go over there. And so this is the spec I created, and then not that fast. Slow down, brother. Slow down. Okay. So here's a spec it created. And so this is the spec it created, and then I put it all in here into a new agent mode chat, and then I just clicked go. So I'm going to let that go, and then I'm going to move over to Codex. I hooked up to a new repo called Discord Playground, and I'm going to say, help me create a Discord bot that sends an update to a Discord channel called PRs whenever a new... You guys know this, I just said PR is merged into main from the Compass repo. Before getting started, prompt me for more info that you need to create a spec. So based on my last video about this talk where, oh geez, failed to create task. What? Now let's try again. Clear this off. Now I can access the repo. It's setting up a container. Okay, it's crazy when you are watching yourself and you want to 2x yourself. It's really humbling. Anyway, I want to point out that I like pulling up the dev tools for things like this because it's just interesting to learn, but also I ran into an error off camera where it said it couldn't connect to the repo, and it didn't tell me any info about why. And then I went over here and I saw it had an error message about the repo was empty. So I just had to create a quick README to initialize the repo, try it again, and now we're rolling. Let's check back in on this guy. We're still searching. We're looking better now. All right, so it's asking for more info. Let's say platform for the repo is on GitHub. Doesn't know what Compass is. Let me tell it. This guy right there. Webhook versus polling. Webhook, definitely. Hosting environment. Where will the bot run? Definitely not local. I've created a bot before where I run a script on a VM and then it sends a webhook notification from the VM to Discord, and that worked well. But I'm not hosting the code myself, so I'm not sure. The cloud service, I guess. GitHub will trigger the webhook upon PR merge. GitHub can do that, right? We'll figure that out. I'm going to click code now when I'm sending it. There we go. I like peeking into these to see what they're doing behind the scenes. Stay focused. Cool. All right, it's rolling. Let's check in on our YouTube scraper. Here's this week's Trend Scout Digest based on all the available data. Let me know if you'd like to tweak it. It's interesting that I picked an MD format. I asked it for it to be emailed, but it's probably like this is just the best we can do for now. Trend Scout Weekly Digest for the past week. I did ask for the last 7 days. Top AI tools for developers. 11-second short metrics. So the teaser says around 25K. So it looks like it got this from taking a screenshot of the YouTube page and then reading the text. Interesting. Fast-paced tool, and then it gives me a thumbnail that I could do. This looks like the video. Cool. This is a presentation. This looks promising. Yeah, it happened 2 days ago. Hell yeah. I like where this is going. So I'm going to save this link over here. Maybe we'll see that soon. What else? Web developer roadmap. I wish these had links in it. Cool. We can tweak the formatting and the links issue, but this is pretty sick. I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm looking for now is just the end-to-end flow. So it gets from agent looking at the web and sending me an email. Then we can figure out the email formatting as we go in the future. It's saying Google Apps script. You can write a script in your Google account. I don't like the apps script. I just never worked in it. It feels icky. I don't want to do it. Ideally. No, it's time to get brighter. What about using GitHub? Can that help us avoid extra tools? If I have, this is already going to be a dependency on agent, then a dependency on app script, and then it's going to maybe have all these keys for YouTube and other platforms, and then there's an email portion of it. I want to consolidate how many other systems are at play here. I don't think GitHub will host jobs like this. GitHub Actions can run scheduled tasks. Really? Create a small script in your repo, add a GitHub Actions workflow that triggers every Friday. Can it do that? I don't know. Why would GitHub want to do that? That sounds great. I'd like to try that route, but don't write the code yet. I'll do that in Codex instead. Turn all of this into a very detailed spec. Instead, act as an expert software engineer, architect, and prompt engineer. Turn all this into a very detailed spec that I can use in Codex. I just don't want to have a bunch of code on the screen here and not have it connected to anything. I'd rather have a spec, then I go to Codex, which has access to my repos, and then Codex can actually run and do the thing. Now, I said PR. On the spec note, I actually think, just based on the last video I reacted to where an OpenAI researcher is advocating for more thought put into specs, I like thinking about the spec as the artifact. Like, that's the real thing. I could even source control that. And so the workflows are going to be better. The agent mode is going to get better. But I'd like to make the spec as high fidelity as possible and tweak it as much as I can. So that's why I'm advocating to not just dump the code from ChatGPT so I could paste it into some repo and run it. Instead, I want to make that spec like really solid and then just keep running and tweaking it. And the workflow underneath it gets better as time goes on. And I think that's the part where I can really hone in on making this unique, but also like automated and evergreen. PRs, right? PRs. PRs. We'll make it private for now. And we go to settings. I think it needs a webhook. Create a webhook. Captain hook. All right, cool. Back to Codex. Update your code to use this web Discord channel, webhook URL, and continue. More context switch in. Here's a spec. 48 seconds to create this bad boy. I'm going to assume it's legit, and then I'm going to copy it. Can I create another one? I don't want this to stop. Let's go here. The other one was working on main. So can I create a new branch? I don't want to put this in the Discord playground. Yeah, this should be separate. I'll create a separate repo. New repo. Oh, it's created right away. Then we got to go to Codex and allow it. Manage environments. Create environment. Scout's found it. Nice. And since there's nothing here, I'm going to let it rip. This is the part I missed. So yeah, it allows internet access, but then you have to whitelist or add allow domains. So I'm going to run into issues because I can't actually reach out to discord.com, even though the webhook is correct. It's just that Codex, for security reasons, isn't allowing it to get out yet because I haven't added it to this domains list here. It feels good, man. This feels good. I'm sending it. All right, cool. So we got a new one, and we're going to go back to our prompt, copy it. All right, off we go. Okay. Interesting that starts 2 versions here. Let's look at the GitHub one. The webhook is now embedded. Testing. The test script ran right. Did it? No. Tunnel connection issue. Discord.com. Max retries. Proxy error. Forbidden. What am I missing here? It was that allowed list. That's what I was talking about. Okay, so I did create the webhook link, but I need to tell GitHub about this webhook. I have to go to settings, webhook, and then do /GitHub. We're going to copy this again, go to GitHub, settings, webhooks. All right, let's see. Cool. You can see if it's been triggered. I added the webhook to GitHub. Please try again. If it fails, give me step-by-step troubleshooting steps. All right. This feels good, but it's also like I'm trying to fly, and then I just get 10 feet, and it's like stop. And then I get 10 feet and stop. So it's probably unrealistic to think I could just fly through this. But I think the way to think about this is to just try to get it end-to-end working, or at least from piece 1 to piece 2, piece 2 to piece 3, then from 1 to 3, and then hang on to that for dear life and keep it working, and then you can start tweaking things. And that's why I think it's important to pick an evergreen topic that, or use case that is always there, because it's motivating to try to keep that workflow and those connection pieces alive. It is kind of cool to have 2 work streams going at the same time. My brain's a little fried going from the 2 and talking to you, but we're trying here. So with this one, this is our trend scout. Now it's using npm and needs some variables. This one kind of makes sense. It needs my Gmail and YouTube. I want to get a win. I got 7 minutes left. If it can run regularly and just log it to the console, that's a win. Then I can just figure out how to hook up that output to something. I would have liked it to be email, but I could do Discord. I guess email or Discord would be best. Maybe I could just upload it to my drive, and then I would know to check that folder every week. That feels easier than email. I really like how it updates the docs automatically. That felt like such a human issue when you had docs that worked perfectly and then the code worked right, but then the code updated and no one remembers to go back to the docs. When I use it, it does that, and it just makes me more willing to add more info to docs because I'm like, it'll update it with the latest. It just knows to do that. So I actually trust docs a lot more than I used to. All right, we're back. It failed on the YouTube part. That makes sense now. So let's try to get it a key real quick. I don't want to send it my main channel's key because it might ban me. So let me sign in real quick to an old channel. I think we got a shot. Let's see what it can do. I updated the YouTube API key secret. I cut this part out, but I got the key from YouTube and then I added it as under the manage environment tab in Codex here, and then added it under the secrets list. Please try again. All right, fingers crossed. As this is going and we have 1 minute left, I'm hopeful. I could see this working. I like how I can get multiple work streams going. So I started with GPT to create a spec and just help me brainstorm. Then I put that spec into agent mode to help it find the resources and just prototype that part of it where it goes out to the internet for me. And I saw it worked. And then I went to Codex to start implementing it and connecting some of the piping under the scenes. And that's where we're at now. And in this first work stream, we're doing it all from Codex because I gave it internet access and it can try to make these requests on its own. I set up the other integrations that it would need and testing that connection between Codex and those integrations. And then once I get that working, I just need to find a place to host it or to run this thing. Hopefully GitHub can do that on an interval. So it's kind of like getting 2 connections to work at the front, getting the 2 middle connections to work, getting the 2 end connections to work, and then connecting the whole workflow. I'm hopeful. I think there's going to be a bunch of little gotchas that happen here, but I think we can figure it out. It says running the digest script with the dummy key failed. The key I gave it didn't work for some reason. I feel like I could figure this out. Okay, guys. I wish I could show you more, but at the same time, I'm pretty proud on how that last hour or so was spent. I think I could pick up where I left off. I'm glad we focused on just simple use cases that were evergreen, so we can update this more. I'm more motivated to pick this up again next week when I have time and just continue where we left off. If I get this workflow going, I could just keep it alive and keep tweaking it for developers or people who are trying to integrate this into their life for the long term. I think this is a good way to go about doing it. If you got some value out of this somehow, then give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.